Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So I am here today. This is my first Tuesday 10 video, not only since like before doing Junk Journal July, but also it's like my first video that I'm filming in this format since coming back from vacation. So I'm like both rusty with Tuesday 10 and with just video making in general. So bear with me if I'm a little bit of a blurb today. So for those of you who are new here, welcome. Tuesday 10 is my usually weekly series that I do where I take 10 things that I have collected or done something with, and I've stored them in this big basket of papers that I keep things like magazine pages, printed digitals, paint experiments, book pages, collages, whatever, just things I've stuffed away to say, use this for something, right? So I take 10 of them out of my basket and I create until I use them up. So these are longer format videos. They're chatty. I talk about my life and what have you. And yeah, so let's just jump into it. I'll show you what I've got today. Okay, so this is an extra printout that I did from a project I've been working on for Patreon, and I want to do something with it. It was on top of the pile. This is a little book page with really pretty pansies, and it says, "The kiss of the sun for pardon, the song of the birds for mirth. One is nearer God's heart in a garden than anywhere else on earth," by Dorothy Frances Gurney. I want to do something with that. This is a digital... I don't remember who it's from or what have you, but it's a beautiful tree. This is a painty page that I made when I was rolling off jelly print, and it's beautiful, beautiful paint. These are 2 pages that I made for different experimental techniques that I showed. One was for Patreon and the other was something Junk Journal July, I think. So I'm thinking about using some of those. This is a jelly print of maple seeds. This is more jelly printing on music paper. This is a scrappy page that I made from sort of things in my scrap bin. And then these are some of my digitals. Both images are the same. They're for a series that I'm coming out with soon, a digital collection that I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm currently working on my artist sampler journal. So today as I'm working, I want to try to like keep that in mind, that I need to be making for those. So I've got the ephemera finished for one of them, but then I'm currently working on this one. It still needs more stuff to be happening inside of it. So yeah, I'm going to try to keep that a little in the front of my mind. So I'm going to start with this because I feel like we can do something really quick and easy and fun with these. So I'm just going to start by tearing them out. So I'm happy to be back from vacation, and I'm trying not to get like overwhelmed immediately again. Now that I'm back, I have been getting all sorts of phone calls today about like stuff, just general life stuff, like, hey, it's your 6-month follow-up with the doctor, or this or that, like all those kind of things that, you know, happen randomly in our lives. And yeah, they all seem to be bombarding me today. So that's okay. I will sort it out. So I think I want to use the line where these 2 pieces are 2 separate pieces. We'll do this. And then over here, I'll tear this one out. But I did have a great vacation. It was nice. We visited my in-laws in the US, and I always enjoy doing that. I'm blessed with very nice in-laws, and the kids absolutely love hanging out with the grandparents. So it's like a double bonus. We do a drive down to the East Coast and of the US, and we have a fun time. We try to make lots of stops on the way because it's about a 10 to 12-hour drive, depending on what happens and how many stops we have to make. But with the little ones, you have to make stops. I mean, it's good to make stops for yourself anyways, for your own body. You don't want to try to sit that long. It has all the same risk factors as taking a very long flight, right? Your body's not moving, so you got to think about your back, and you got to think about your circulation and try not to overdo those kind of trips. So we made our first stop in New York. There's a lovely little town called Mount Morris, and it has some nice antique stores. It's got a really lovely lasagna restaurant called Questa Lasagna. It's got some, did I say antique stores already? Yeah, it's got some antique stores. It's got a thrift store. And then we just did a little tour down there while we had lunch. But I went to this beautiful park nearby. Unfortunately, I can't recall the name of it, but it was just a lovely, I mean, amazing park. We stopped there both on the way there and on the way back because it was just so much fun and the kids had a great time. Like you drive into this really pretty, well landscaped kind of area, and I think they probably have campgrounds there, and there's a lovely big playground, and there's like some nice swings that you can like swing on, like for, you know, adults, like what are those called, like the kind of like porch swings, but they're all over on the ground. So these nice wooden kind of multiple person bench swings, and I had the nicest time just sitting under some tall pines on the swing. My kids played at the playground and made some friends, and they have a really lovely pond, and it was so nice because there were all these little turtles about this size, little, what looked to be, they were very skittish. I couldn't get too close to them. They looked like box turtles, actually, which was pretty exciting because they didn't have the markings of a painter turtle. They weren't snappers. They had a smooth shell, so they weren't snapping turtles. I'm thinking they were probably box turtles, which is great because box turtles are considerably more endangered than other turtles, and so I was happy to see them there. But they were quite skittish. It looks like someone had recently sort of weed whacked all of the greenery around the water, and so they would quickly kind of rush into that space to try to, you know, get away from, you know, me as I walked around the pond. I'm just going to move a couple things here. There we go. Okay, so these are done. What I want these to be are little over the page, you know, little over the page journal card with a little paper clip there. I think that'd be very cute. So those will work for that journal. So we're going to set those aside. They don't even need stitching. Now this, think. What do we want to do with this? I feel like I would like to make it a frame around like a vintage photo or something. So I want to cut out this verse in the center, and I want to give it a little more weight. Maybe I should glue it down first. Actually, no, maybe I'll cut this out first. That'll give me a bit of a guide here. What else? So yeah, we had a nice picnic there on the way in, and I saw loads and loads of little frogs jumping in the pond, and that always made me happy as I walked around the pond. And then we hit the road again, and our next stop we made was also really awesome. It was somewhere in Pennsylvania. You know, Pennsylvania is such a massive state, but it's called Ives Run, I-V-E-S Run, and it is an Army Corps of Engineers project, and they built this like beach. I mean, it's a lake. It's like a man-made lake. It's got like a concrete bottom, and it has quite an expanse of like more shallow water, so it's wonderful for kids. It's clean, and then it does get deep, and it was just so nice. It was like a really hot day, and it was a really nice temperature. The water was perfect, so we had a great time. Went for a good swim, and that was refreshing on the road trip for sure. Just need something to back this with here. I'm going to use this brown card. Now I need to go get a vintage picture of some kind. I don't think I have one hanging around here anywhere. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I'm just going to move my stack of things out of the way so we can focus on one thing at a time. So I found this picture of this lovely lady from 1949. Her name is Mary Slack, and this is her high school graduation photo. So I think this would be a perfect little frame for her. So I will just trim up. I noticed a couple little spots that I could trim a little bit better here. There we go. I think I will. Yeah. So just take a little ink around the edges here on the inside, just before gluing this all down. So I'll start by gluing down the whole picture of her. Yeah, so once we went to the beach, we had a nice refreshing time. Then we got some snacks, and we got the kids all dressed and ready to hit the road again. And by that time, we only, I think, had about maybe 2.5 more hours. So the kids had a nap after the swim, which was great. And we arrived in good time to have dinner with our family. That was nice. Okay, now this I will use just glue stick, I think. I'm trying to remember everything that we did. Oh my gosh. So I'll probably just tell you a few things because I can't even really remember the order of the things that we did. So, okay, so one day we went to a place in Gettysburg, and it's called the Land of Little Horses. And I went there many years ago, probably about 12 years ago, and it was much smaller than it is now. They've made it more into like more of a horse entertainment kind of farm. But what I like about it, and I was a little nervous because I'm not a big zoo person. I don't like wild animals being caged, and I'm not really into that. I mean, horses aren't necessarily wild animals, right? They're domesticated on the most part, but I also don't necessarily like animals being used for entertainment and, you know, kept captive that way. It just isn't my thing. It can be your thing. It's just, I don't know. I'm not a fan. So it's been years since I've gone to a place that really is like that, but I do remember having a really good experience there, feeling like the animals were very well taken care of. And there's some hobby farms that I do actually quite like, and I like their purpose. Some are rescue farms and other things like that, and that's more my speed. So I thought, let's give it a try, because I looked on the website, and you know, I felt like what I saw wasn't troubling. The thing that I was most concerned about was that they did pig races, and I was like, what, you know, and it was a hot day, and I thought, I don't know. But you know what, I just thought, let's just not make a bunch of assumptions, and we'll give it a try. And if we don't like it, we'll say so and we'll go. And we won't go back. So I went and I had a wonderful time. So they did, the first thing that we started out with was they do like a mini horse show. So like the whole shtick of this place initially was about miniature horses. And then they also have all sorts of other miniature animals, like miniature cow, a miniature donkey, you know, other baby animals. They had a zebra. I remember the first time I went there just being so wowed by all the, like, everything was in miniature. That's cute. I like her in there. She's very pretty. So then had a good time. We started with the miniature horse show, and it was so much fun. So it's, what I like about it is, okay, the horses, they're not professional, like they're trained, but I would say gently. Like they try to get them to do these things. They don't always succeed, but it's really cute. So they've got, like, you know, like those horse jumping kind of well, like horse jumping, right? They jump over that like stick kind of thing, that the bar that gets raised up. So they have the bar on like the lowest ever setting. And the first horse comes out and she's so pretty, and like so she's running around, and you know she kind of jumps and like she knocks one of the bars over, and they laugh, and like it was just great. But they were, for whatever reason, they were blasting Lady Gaga applause, like the song Applause, and all these little kids are dancing around the ring, like where the horse is jumping. And each horse show, for each horse, it was like 1 minute, like they did 2 rounds and then they were done. So you know, it wasn't something where the horses are being like, you know, trained and it's really exhausting for them. Okay, so I appreciated that. Then they had this other horse that was like a black horse, and I think they called him like Smokey or something. And so he was known as like the bad boy horse. So they bring him out with this little motorcycle, and he's pushing it with his nose, and it was so funny. And I guess he's kind of like the troublemaker on like the farm. Like he, you know, escapes from things, and he unlocks so all the little mini horses, there's this really big barn, and they all have their own little, you know, stall, and each stall has like a low window and a higher up window. And when they get impatient and they want out, some of them, not all of them, just a couple, I noticed, they will kick at the door. And a couple of them are really aggressive. Like they really kick. They've actually, one kicked a hole right through the front of the door because there's people in there and they want to come out and see the people. And they let them take turns. Like there's certain ones that are kind of free range all the time, allowed to walk around, and then others that aren't. So I think that they get a little impatient when they're not out, and so they will, you know, kick away at these doors. So we saw a bit of that, and we were like going up to them and kind of petting them. They just want attention. They just want to be patted. So that's what we did, and it was really cute. And so the horses were like all in that little barn, and we got to feed them all. Like you get a feed cup, and you get like this admission kind of thing, that it covers like certain, like depending on what price you've paid, you get certain things. So we got like the max package for the kids, and we just sort of did the lower end package because we didn't need to do like all of the things, right? It was more for the kids. I love these torn edges on this as a tag. I really think that's going to be fun for an art journal. So I'm actually just going to leave these. Like, I like the shape of this as is, just as a journaling card. These painty papers, they're really nice. And I think for an artist sample book, these are great. So things are just going to be a little more simple a little bit today. Anyway, so when we were in the horse barn, all of a sudden my 6-year-old daughter looks up and she's like, "Mom, look." And what we saw was a little hummingbird, and it was going up to like the lights in the top of the barn. There were skylights, and then there were some like square fluorescent lights. So the lights were disorienting this poor little hummingbird, and I was like, I was heartbroken. It was so sad. And I kind of mentally, I was like, I am not leaving until we can, get this hummingbird. So, I kind of hung around, but he wasn't coming down. Like, it was really stressful. So eventually, my mother-in-law took my son and my husband, like they went out because my son was getting bored. He's 3, he doesn't have the patience for so much, standing around and not going and seeing all the things, because he wanted to, feed a horse that was outside. So they went out, but my daughter hung out with me, and we just kind of hung around in the barn. So after about maybe not even 10 minutes, all of a sudden, I'm watching this bird, and it just comes sort of fluttering down. It was exhausted. So, my daughter and I ran over to where it was, because our first concern was like we didn't want him to get stepped on. So we headed over, and I looked and looked and couldn't find it. But then once again, my daughter, in her like amazing eyes, she saw him on the floor, and he was just lying there. So I went over, and I picked him up. teeny. He was this big. He was this big. And it was so incredible to be holding on to a little hummingbird. He was green, and I shared on my YouTube like a community tab. You'll see a picture of him there. And he had cobwebs all over him. So I just kind of held him with my hand cupped like this, so his little beak would be coming out, and had my other hand under him so he didn't feel crowded, and if he needed to go, he could. So first thing we did is we got him outside. Then I just have to grab something. Hold on. I have to grab a folder here. So then after we got him outside, we were like, okay, we need to get him some sugar water and get him, you know, to just kind of settle down, cool down. And so he did like just sort of sit there, and he was really, you know, panting. And of course birds have what's called a cloaca, where they, you know, they release their heat, and it's you can look that up. I won't explain that anatomy. But yeah, so I could see that everything the bird needed to be doing to cool down, he or she was doing. So it was really nice. And the woman there, who was like one of the, probably like one of the managerial kind of staff, she was over near this little train that the kids ride on. That was my son's favorite part of the day. And I said to her, excuse me, like, would you happen to have any idea where I could get some sugar water? And I explained to her, like, I have this little hummingbird and I want to give him, you know, some energy so he can get up and go. And so she's like, oh yeah, give me a minute. And she ran over and she got me some sugar packets and some water. And I basically stirred it all up, and then I sort of, you know, stirred it with my fingers, which I had just cleaned my hands, soap and water, and then stirred it with my fingers, and then I just began to dribble it and drip it on the face and the beak of the bird after getting all the cobwebs away. And so then all of a sudden, like, I saw like the water kind of dribble down the side of the face, like right where, you know, the little mouth would be. And she started to buzz her wings. I could feel them in my hand. So I opened up my hand, and she just like hovered up right in front of my face for a second. I could feel like her wind on my face, like from her fast wings. And then she buzzed right up through the front of my hair, and away she went. And we were all just like having a moment. You know, it was so cool to be able to spend a little bit of time with such a tiny little bird. So yeah, that was my magical experience. But then back to like the little horse show. So they have a quote unquote unicorn, and it's this white horse, this little mini white horse. And they put a little like unicorn horn on her, and like the kids could take pictures with her. And she does a little 1-minute show where she will stand up on this little platform with her 2 front legs, and she'll kind of bow down, and they play this mystical music, and then off she goes, and they say like, oh, she's gonna run back off into the mountains, you know. And it was so cute. The kids were just having a blast. And then so the pig races, okay, so same deal. They have piglets, little teeny piglets, and they have also very small pigs. And so first we saw they had like the little guys. They said, okay, we're going to bring out our junior racers. So out come these piglets, and they were so small and so super cute. And so they come out, they put them in like these 3 sort of slotted, you know, gates, right? Like that they're allowed to enter. They're not caged or anything. There's like a gate in front of them. Then they pull it up and they play music, and they run one time around this tiny little track. And then away they go, and they were so cute too. So first they did the little pigs, the junior racers, and then they did the other, I mean, equally little but slightly bigger pigs, and you got to like, you know, cheer for your favorite. And they all had names like maple syrup and coffee and things like that, were breakfasty, you know, because, well, the dark side of, you know, what happens with pigs. But anyways, it was more about you know, they didn't call them things like bacon or anything like that, because I think that would be a little insensitive, but they gave them other kind of cute names. And so the kids all loved watching that, and they had a great time. So that was fun. They also got to do like, they have like a little, they've created sort of like a little old-timey like country town type area where the kids get to go into, like, they see like a sheriff's little prison cell. And there's a little area where they can kind of do some like prospecting for gems. So they get a little bag of dirt and like a sorting, you know, those, like a sifting, a wooden tray that does sifting, and you pour the bag of dirt in the sifter, and then they have this like tiered running water system where the kids can put their sifting tray into it, and as the sand clears, they get like a whole bag of, like, you know, semi-precious stones and crystals and things, and that was really fun. The kids loved that. And then we got to go on a wagon ride, and we'd only got one token because I figured, like, for the adults, that is, so that my husband probably would have just rode along, but then they were like, you're okay, you know, it's fine, go ahead. So they gave us a free ride on the wagon, which was really nice. It was like a 20-minute ride through their back pasture, and there's a part of it that's woods, and that was really nice. And my son got like 3 or 4 free rides on this little train too, and he got to sit in the conductor's seat, and there was like a teenage guy who was like running the little train, and he was really sweet to him. My kids were very lucky in that people were amazing with them. Okay, there's that one. I like how these look, like, just as this, like, it's just a sample of this paper that I made, right? But I'm just bradding it down on like folder, painty folder. And I think those are really pretty as journal cards. I like those. I got one more to do here. And I'm just using scrap pieces of folder here. And I think these were going to be really fun. I'm just putting a little bit of glue to hold it in place. I kind of need to go get a new glue stick. If you're interested in learning to make this paper, I made this during Junk Journal July. If you go and you look back through my videos, I think this one, I don't know if I did it for, brown paper, I think, because this started out as brown paper, so it would be day 8. Yeah, I think it was that one. I need to put that Junk Journal July page into my journal, but I've referred to it a couple of times since doing it, so maybe I'll leave it for a little bit. So then what else? Okay, so we also, so my kids have never been to Chuck E. Cheese. So before, you know, when the pandemic started, we stopped eating at any restaurant, and we actually haven't gone back to restaurants, eating in. We still kind of feel like we don't want to take that much of a risk. We don't really want to be unmasked eating with a lot of people. It's just not our thing. We're trying to be more careful about that. Yeah, so I did make an exception though, because my daughter has really wanted to she really has wanted to go to Chuck E. Cheese. Like, she's asked me because she's seen commercials and she's heard about it from other kids and that kind of thing. So I said, okay, well, we were going to spend some time with my brother and sister-in-law, like their aunt and uncle, and, you know, we're trying to figure out what to do that day. We were going to go to the Jim Henson exhibit, but I sort of felt like my kids are a little young for Jim Henson. They're not really big, like, it's mainly, I think, more created for adults. It's at, like, the museum, I think it's at the Baltimore, the Museum of Modern Art, maybe, or not Modern Art, sorry, the Maryland Art Museum, maybe, Baltimore Art Museum, I can't remember which one. But if you look up Jim Henson exhibit Baltimore, you'll find it. And so I was like, I don't really want to do that because I feel like they're not going to be that into it. And so I said, you know, okay, why don't we try Chuck E. Cheese, but we'll go after the lunch hour, so it'll be less busy. And then we can decide how we feel about masking, because we can, you know, eat at our table and then we can mask in the arcade if it's busy. So everybody was cool with that. And You know, it felt really good to have just your wishes accepted. Just, you know, nobody judging you about it. Nobody, you're not asking anything of anyone else. You just want to be able to do what you want to do, right? And like that's my biggest thing about this whole situation that we've all been in, is just like respecting other people's needs, right? And so I felt very good about that. Let's do something with this. Now I feel like I want to make this into like something I can use in my art sample journal. And so what I think I'd like to do is, first of all, tear these down. And then, so I'll continue talking. So then the nice thing was, it was so quiet by the time we had gotten there, that I didn't even feel like we needed to wear masks. And that was pretty nice, that the kids can, you know, not have to wear their masks. And I don't have to worry about it. It's like they don't really care. Mainly it's just that my 3-year-old can get a little bit like forgetful, or he'll want to do something, you know, with his face, and then he'll take his mask off, and then he'll need you to help him put it back on, because he is aware that he's like supposed to have it on. So he'll sort of stop and he'll say, fix my mask, or fix mask. And so yeah, I didn't have to worry about any of that, which was nice. And we had a good time. The kids, they did really good playing all the games. They loved playing skee ball, and I even got to play a few games, and that was nice. It was a lot of fun hanging out with the kiddos. And then my son, it's so funny, he, you know, at the end where the kids pick out what prizes they want, my daughter picked out a giant lollipop, and then this like, it's kind of, I don't know, it has all these little rings, and when you pull this lever, it kind of shoots the little rings up in the air, so it's like a little hovering kind of toy, and she really loved that. So we didn't have quite enough tickets to get it, and so I offered to pay the balance, and the people were, again, just so nice, and they said, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay, I don't mind. And they're like, no, it's fine. So yeah, that was a nice little thing. And then my son, he had over 1,000 tickets to spend, and all he wanted were like little baggies of Haribo gummies. And so he got like a dozen little bags of Haribo gummies. And when, you know, everyone was trying to ask him, like my brother-in-law was like, you know, up there with him saying like, I'll get you anything you want. We'll get you anything, you know. And he was just like, you know, candy. So he just got his gummies and had a great time. Okay, so we've inked these. Now, what I would like to do is sort of turn them into, if you imagine, like a sample card, right? Like something that makes you think about a sample or a swatch. So I've got a micron. Let me just check that it works okay. It does. And I'm thinking of just making these kind of free form, double layer, triple layer kind of shapes that look kind of like a swatch. That's fun. So yeah, that was a really great success going to Chuck E. Cheese. I was pretty happy about that, and I think I'll feel comfortable taking them to the one near our house in the same way that I took them to that one. What else did we do? So I got to go to Scrap in Baltimore, which is the Creative Reuse store, and that I covered in my Unpack With Me sort of thrift haul video. Loved that place. The people are awesome, and I mean, I'm not surprised. When you have people who are working on an environmental initiative, you typically expect them to be pretty awesome. I definitely did miss like being in my studio a bit though. I was like, oh, I didn't bring enough to do. So I did bring this big Victorian scrapbook book that I needed to fussy cut, and I got that whole thing fussy cut in the car. between the two, like, you know, trip there and trip back, that got done. So I have a bunch of really fun Victorian style fussy cuts to use now. And yeah, I didn't bring enough to do. I just brought my watercolors and my watercolor books, and I was sort of like, I don't know what to do with myself. So I got this bag that I'm thinking about for in the future, how to bring along maybe like an actual junk journal kit. Like if I could bring a book that I'm actually working on and all the things that I would need. So it's this nice bag that has, like, you know, all these kind of dynamic pockets. And I got it on Amazon. And I had my first experience getting something in an Amazon locker at a Weiss market. So the bag was not going to be shipped until the day after we left. So the other option was to be able to pick it up at a locker, and it's so easy. I was like, wow, like I don't think we have that option in Canada, but like you just basically, I went to the Weiss market, and at the front of the store they have this big Amazon like locker, and you just go on your phone, you type in a code, they send you a notification when it's there, you type in the 4-digit code and it opens the locker, and there you go, you've got your package. So I was like, well, that's cool. So okay, now I have this, and this is already a sample, right? This is a sample of the maple seeds that I foraged, so I'll be able to use that as a journal card. Then I think I'll tackle, I'm trying to think about what to do with this. That isn't going to be just exactly what I did with the other paper, because I don't want to just do that. Although, I mean, for the purposes of what I'm doing, which is sample things, it might be okay, but I'm just going to think about it a little bit. So this, I want to add some, I want to make tags with these. I want to make 3 tags. Okay. And then I need, I definitely need to back them, and I need to size them down a bit. So, and I will stitch around these for sure. So let's tear the top off that to make it a little smaller. Good. This one too. And I feel like I also want to get rid of that edging of that yellow there. And this rough edge here. All right. So now let's play with these a little bit. I have over here all this. These are my bits that I'm using for the ephemera that I'm making in this journal, and then I also have some other things. So I think what I would like to do is I want to put like things like this on these, like this paint tube on this one. I have these kind of swatchy samples, so I might put one of those on here. I might just kind of trim it down a little bit though. This is on 1800s ledger. It's so pretty. I'm trying to think how to best use it. Maybe like, I'm going to cover her face. That's nice. Then what else do I have over here? My little bits and bobs here. This is a Winsor and Newton card. We'll put that on there, because like some of these things that are already collaged on here have nothing to do with art or art sampling, so I can cover those up and not feel guilty about it. So this is kind of cool, but I think I'll cut it down. We had a nice walk at the Susquehanna River too when I was away. It's always one of my favorite places to go. Let's start gluing these things down maybe. And I saw a white mallard duck, which is really cool. Just remembered I forgot to post pictures of that. Probably do that. I think it just must have had a genetic, like, you know, difference, that it didn't get the same pigment in the feathers as the other ducks. But like, I looked at it really closely, and it looked exactly like a mallard, and it was with all the other mallards, and they were just having a grand old time. And yeah, it just had no color. It was really cool. Like, he wasn't completely albino, but like he had a very beige tone and very light brown in some of the feathers, but it was just a really unique duck. Oh, I gotta get a new glue stick. Let's put some art glitter glue on here just for the sake of time saving. That's good. I did do a little bit of shopping, not a ton, but I did find some good things. If you saw my Unpack With Me video, you'll see what I got. I have to be super careful though, because even if things are like on sale or, you know, thrift prices in the US, when the exchange rate is as bad as it is for Canadians, you still need to be extremely careful, because you can easily spend a lot of money and not even realize it. And I try not to do that. I try to be conscious of my spending when I'm away, because it's really easy to spend like a lot of money. Okay. Use a couple of these little stickers that have paintbrushes and things. This one maybe here. Okay. And then I'll grab one more. I think I have a little tube of paint. Yeah, I do, right there. Oops. Okay. So let's back these, and then we will turn them into journal cards. But first, I think I should go grab some paint, so I'll be right back. I said paint, but I meant glue, so I got my glue. And then I did go to Joann's, and, you know, as Canadians, we always have these kind of things that we go to when we're in the United States that we don't have here. So for me, those things are Target and Joann. And I did get a few little things at Joann, but I did not go crazy, because I said to myself, you do not need fabric. You need to get through your fabric before you buy more. So, and I'm sticking pretty good to that. The only fabric things that I buy are inexpensive and vintage or antique, like textiles that I know are very much like, you know, essentially one of a kind. They've been handmade, or they're very vintage, and I love them. But I'm trying not to buy like all this beautiful, you know, quilting fabric, Riley Blake, and all these beautiful things. I know there's a lot of art journal specific like fabric now, and Kathy Holden, Tim Holtz, all of this. And I'm like, if I'm not going to use it, I don't need to buy it. I don't need to store it right now. Like, and I'm trying to realize that, you know, I have a lot of projects that I have on my plate, and if I buy more things, that it's just gonna direct my attention toward wanting to use those things. And, you know, I'll be like stressed out because they're sitting in my studio not being used, but also like it will distract me from my current projects, and then I'll end up using them, and I'll feel good about that, but then I won't get done what I've already been working on. And I'm trying to get better at doing that. So, and I know a lot of people from Canada, like, you know, they go to all these different stores, and Hobby Lobby is often one of them. I do not shop at Hobby Lobby. They do not share my morals in any way. I don't like their overtly religious, not just religious, but very much harmful way that they fund everything against the LGBTQ community. And also, I've had nothing, before I knew that they were that kind of company, I shopped there one time and I had an awful experience for several reasons. So what I witnessed was basically a woman with her child, and he was probably about 3 years old, and he was probably neurodivergent, but that does not really matter. He was having a bit of a moment, and he wanted to push a shopping cart. And so the only problem is that like when you enter the store, it's like there's two big doors and you enter right behind the checkouts. So I think the mother and father were trying to give him what he wanted to be able to push this cart and give him the control he was looking for to do that. But unfortunately, the cart, it was like, I don't know if the wheel was bent or something, but it was veering off to one side, and it was headed toward this woman. I still remember exactly what she looked like. She had very, very bulgy eyes. Like I'm not trying to like shame her looks or anything. I remember her so much, and I feel this way about her because she was such a mean, awful person in the way she treated this little child. So she looks like, you know how sort of like sometimes people, when they have a thyroid problem, their eyes can bulge out of their head, you know, like it's really awful. So that's what she looked like. But it wasn't even so much that really stuck in my head. It just, the mean, snotty look on her face of her judging the parents for their child's behavior, as well as just the sneering way that she looked at this child with just such disdain in her eyes. Like, just, how dare you, you know, like just mean, and seriously overreacting to nothing. Like he had screamed a couple of times because he was frustrated that this cart wouldn't move how he was trying to push it, and he was frustrated that his parents were also, you know, both trying to reason with him in different ways. And you know, what I can tell you is, 1 second, when you have a toddler and they're not doing what you want them to do, it's one of the most stressful things ever. And I've experienced this, like, and it's really hard. And, you know, it's extra hard for people who have children that are neurodivergent with something such as autism, because, you know, autistic children, many of them, and obviously it's a very big spectrum, but many of them, their behavior is often very, it's either social or not social. And some of the children are extremely, almost over social. Like they want to go up and hold hands. They want to get to know you. They want to give you, you know, a little kiss on your hand. They want to hug. They want to, like, they're very physical, and they're very sweet. And obviously that can be wonderful. I mean, it really should be what the whole entire world just accepts without question. Like, shouldn't we all like that, you know? I mean, unless you have a sensory issue where you don't want someone touching you, and I get that too, right? I'm all about everybody being accepted for who they are. But this woman, she looks down at this little boy who had he had a pink shirt on, and so she looks at him and she says, "You better not hit me, girl." And the mother looked at her and she said, "Boy, and don't worry, I'm not gonna let him hit you." And she just like sneered at the mother again and sneered. And then what really bothered me was that there were some other customers, but mainly there were like 3 or 4 other women working in the store who were all cashiers, who all had the same catty, mean attitude. And, you know, it's ironic when you're surrounded by home decor items that say things like "choose kindness," and you're just watching this gaggle of women And I know I'm getting a little personal, and I'm sorry, I'm not looking to offend or hurt anyone's feelings. This is not about their religion. This is not about their looks. This is not about any of those things. It's 100% about just their attitude and how awful they were. Anything else I've mentioned here is just sort of to paint the picture for you, to give you what I saw, right, and how I felt in the moment. And sometimes, you know, we can feel things that we don't even feel good about. I mean, the fact that I noticed the eyes, the eye problem the one woman had, the mean woman, I seriously afterward sort of thought to myself, and I also thought about not saying that here. But then I'm also like an honest person, and I like to just tell you sort of what I felt and how I expressed it. And, you know, I just was in complete shock and awe and anger. Like, honestly, I felt so much anger. So I was pregnant at the time. And, you know, I was saying to my husband the other day, I can't remember a time, like ever since I was a little kid, that whenever I saw a temper tantrum happening, that I didn't want to help with it. That was the immediate thing that I wanted to do, even since I was a child. And I see the exact same behavior in my own daughter. Sorry for the little snip. I just had to chat with my daughter for a minute. But yeah, I see it in my own children, where if they see another child who is upset, they will, you know, try to tend to them. My daughter especially, she's extremely empathetic. And, you know, I also feel like whenever I see a little kid in distress and their parents are overwhelmed, I will often try to, like, you know, make a silly face or talk to them in a sing-song kind of voice and try to see if that helps. I mean, I stop if it doesn't, but, you know, it's like you're trying to just be helpful, because, like, even before I had children, like, I could see how that probably felt, you know. And I don't think you need children to feel like, you know, some situation is hard. It's like parents on airplanes, you know, like, you don't know why someone's flying, and you shouldn't be treating children like they're not they're not like valid to be there, right? Like, but that's another whole topic. But anyways, yeah, what I saw was really frustrating. And I just remember, like, saying to the mom at the time, like, oh, like, he's so cute, you know. I've definitely, like, I know what it is when you have a little kid, because I used to babysit all the time, and, you know, and I said, like, I know it's going to be coming my way, and I just tried to, like, make some kind of conversation with her to make her feel like she wasn't so completely alone in this, you know, environment of people who just seemed extremely judgmental. And it ended up, it did work. It kind of broke up the whole situation, thankfully. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to draw a little bit of a border around this just for the fun of it, and maybe a few little dots here and there, just to give this a little bit of an artist touch. And I'm sorry if you can hear some vacuuming going on upstairs. My husband is tidying up, because, you know, we're just getting home and there are things that always need to be done. Maybe I'll put a couple little dots here and there. So yeah, that's my my experience and my frustration with that particular brand and why I don't support them. I mean, the larger reason is about just, you know, what they fund and what they stand for. I'm not okay with that. Because I believe in everybody having the right to exist and, you know, live their lives without their rights being taken away. Okay, so now I don't have a lot of things left, so we use this. I'm going to say that this one we can say it's been done in Tuesday 10. Okay. Now, maybe what can I do with this? You know what I think I'm going to do? I have an idea. So this is going to be like a botanical card. We'll make 2 of them because I'm making ephemera for 4 journals. So I'm allowed to have a couple things that are the same or similar. So I just have to tear around this. I have no idea how long this video is going to be, and hopefully you don't find it, you know, too personal and too ranty. But like I said, I've been away for a while, and I am feeling like I just want to chat with you guys because we haven't done that in a long time. It's been like the whole month of Junk Journal July. I was like, I would say kind of impersonal. Not impersonal, but like, you know, just not talking like I usually do with you guys. Okay, so this I'm going to cut just the length of it here. And I love these papers. I'm really happy I made them. So, you know, again, if you think of a paint swatch or a sample, the shape of a sample, let's go like 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1. Yay! Yeah, I love that. Sweet. Okay, so let's use art glitter glue. This is wax paper. It does stay down with my glue stick. I've tested it already, but I'm going to use the art glitter glue this time, and I'm just going to do a square like that. And if the sides stay up a little, I kind of like that. I also should say, you know, on a positive note, while I was in the US, I actually met and talked to so many great people, new people, and my kids made some new friends and had a blast. One of our friends has twins, and it was their birthday, so they were having a birthday party, and it was the first time that my kids got to meet their kids, and so they got kind of VIP advance access to the birthday party festivities. They rented this, I guess it's a bouncy castle water slide. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. The kids had a really good time. I mean, it was a little bit scary when we got there. I looked at this thing and I was like, wow, because it's kind of like it's a very high, you know, it's like 25 or so feet in the air, and it's a pretty downward like drop on the slide, but like it was fine. I get nervous easily about things like that, but yeah, it was fine. My 3-year-old didn't go on the slide. He just enjoyed the bouncy castle aspect of it, where he just bounced around and played in the kind of pool at the bottom. And the bigger kids had a great time. They were sliding and having a lot of fun. Okay, so we have these. Now I think what I'll do is I will ink around the edges here. There we go. All right, so those are fun. Now, I think what I'm going to do with this, it's actually a pretty quickie technique as well. I love the shape of these like doily kind of bits, so I'm just going to cut them out in the shape that they are, the 2 of them, and make like little tip outs for them. And then I'm going to save this little scrap here in my scrap box because that's a nice little bit. So let's get some paper. This kind of off-white paper would be good. And then just cover the back because I want the back to be writing space. And we'll leave a little extra paper over there. Get them both down. A little extra paper over there. Then I'll do this, just create like a little tab. And I'm going to leave a little excess paper around the edge. And just cut my tab here. And around here. Same thing. All right. So now I need to do some stitching on some of this stuff, and then I will come back and show you everything that we made. Okay, so my stitching is done, and if you can believe it, we made 20 things in that time. So first, these two little over the top of the page journal cards, then these two samples, and they're journal cards as well. I'm probably going to back them though, because if you look, that glue is quite wet. So I'll set those aside. I'll back those after. This is the sample of the maple seeds. These little tree sample cards. And then these three fun papers. And then the tag and the journal cards. That one could be a tag maybe. Let's make that into a tag. I feel like the shape, it wants to be a tag. There we go. Yeah, that's better than a tag. So cute. Then this journal card, and then these tags I did stitch around them. And then the little tip outs. So that will flip. And then a little one that will do the same. And then her. And I think that's the only part of this whole thing that I'm not going to be using in my artist sampler journal. So I made lots of stuff for my artist sampler journals. And yeah, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for being here and being chatty, you know, hearing me be chatty. And, you know, if some of our principles are slightly different, the things that I've said today in some way have made you feel a way, I apologize, but you know, I think we can all be different and still like each other, and that's my whole thing. I like when people are kind to one another, and what I saw in the situation I was explaining was the very opposite of that. So thank you again, and we will talk very soon. Bye for now.